A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum. We're coming to you live on Radio 1 FM 90, which is broadcasting from the Central Building in the heart of our city, Kampala. Live on its website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. Now, Radio 1 is also live on the different radio listening apps, which you can find from the apps of your smartphone. You download any of those apps, look for Radio 1 FM 90. And as long as you have an internet connection, you should be able to listen to us from anywhere across this globe. My name is Kenneth Anderson Lukwago, your host, and today we'll be looking at the state of our parliament as nominations begin. Well, we know hundreds of people are being nominated today and tomorrow to vie for different positions for member of parliament. Some of them are incumbents, others are coming in for the first time. But we also have those who actually lost flags in their political parties. We had been told that once you miss out on the flag of a political party and you run as an independent, you are automatically kicked out of that political party. But what we have seen in the past is that once somebody loses, for instance, the NRM flag, and they are elected to parliament as independent, they sign a memorandum of understanding where they become an NRM-leaning independent. We have also had the same with opposition, where you find a person who has such views actually agreeing to work with the shadow cabinet in parliament. So officially, the parliamentary elections have also kicked off. We know already we have the presidential campaigns going on. So a beehive of activity is coming your way as a number of people actually start organizing in the different localities to tell you why they want you to vote for them to go to parliament. So what exactly are the kind of leaders that we are looking for in this particular arena? People who are supposed to be in parliament and legislate. And what kind of parliament have we had? The one that they are seeking to replace. And looking at the historical perspective, can parliament play its role in addressing the issues they are supposed to do, including legislation, appropriation, but also holding the executive to account? Two guests in studio today to share their views on these particular concerns. Dr. Deus Kamunyu Mwezi, governance critic and lecturer at Makerere University. Good evening, Doctor. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
Good evening, my brother Kenneth, and thanks always for calling me to share my views.
It's a pleasure.
Citizen, democratic citizen.
Also in studio, Mr. Francis Chibirige is a researcher with Afrobarometer Survey. Good evening, Mr. Chibirige. It's a pleasure having you on Spectrum.
Yeah, good evening, Kenneth, and good evening to all our listeners. It's a pleasure to be here again.
All right. Let me kick off this discussion by probably picking your views, first of all, about the presidential campaigns. We know yesterday the Electoral Commission announced that the election of the president and member of parliament will take place on the 15th of January next year. I want to begin with you, Mr. Chibirige. Mr. Chibirige, you come from Afrobarometer Survey. Normally, sometimes you excite us by telling us how certain candidates are likely to campaign, to perform in the elections. You normally give us some food for thought. People start looking out why certain candidates will perform the way they will. What are you waiting for, Mr. Chibirige?
Thank you very much. I will be brief because of time. Usually when you are to conduct such a study, you would want to wait when the time is right. So we are still planning on conducting one survey, at least, a pre-election survey to do inform us on some of the issues that you've raised, but also on others that we traditionally have studied over the last 25 years, not only here in Uganda, but now in 40 other African countries. So it's a question of timing. You need ideas to form, campaigns to roll out, people to sink in the messages, the manifestos, and the issues to play out in a way that ordinary people can then comment about. If you have resources to do more than one survey, you can stagger them over the period. They could say one before nominations or before primaries, and then one soon after primaries. But ideally for us, we are planning on one this time, yes.
Only one.
Yes.
And I think that will come almost when the candidates have gone across the country, because let's see, they have been
About a month in the field.
a month in the field now.
Yes.
So,
Unfortunately, I can't say when we are going to go to the field, because sometimes research ethics, you don't want to preempt and warn people that I'm coming, lest they be ready for you. We we usually don't want to ask people who are prepared for us. We want to ask people in an ordinary way possible, like somebody knocks at your door, introduces themselves, and asks you to consent to participate in a survey, and if you do, then you share your views. But if you are like aware they are coming next week, they may find when you are maybe not well prepared. Yes.
All right. And let's hear your view first about the campaign so far. You are a key stakeholder. You follow the things the way they happen. We have had elections in the past. This time around, what's your take so far about what has happened?
Okay, good question. Again, because of time, I raised maybe two issues, two observations. The first one is that, like many Ugandans, we were worried at the start of this 2025-2026 election cycle. We feared there would be a lot of violence and commotion. I think borrowing from the past, 2021, but also more recently, Kawempe North, that made us very worried. But I think different stakeholders tried to say this would be more peaceful. We've seen the Minister, for instance, of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the Honorable Noma Tumao, come out a couple of weeks ago and promise that it will be peaceful. The Electoral Commission chairperson, Justice Simon Vyabakama, yesterday, as you mentioned, did note that it has been peaceful so far. And we've seen on the campaign trail, episodes where it has been relatively calm, but also episodes where it has reminded us of the past, where, for instance, gatherings have been disrupted by security agencies, the police, where candidates have been asked to divert. Sometimes you don't understand why, and as an observer, an onlooker, maybe seeing it on TV or listening to it in the media, you are like, why is this happening? So it has been relatively calm, but there has also been incidents that probably shouldn't have happened. We hope these incidents will not continue. That's our hope. The second quick observation is about the absence or the lack of kind of focus on issues in our elections traditionally. So we've always campaigned on rhetoric, on waves, but we've not kind of seen campaigns well grounded. I will just maybe give our listener an example. Let me use myself. If I stood for, I don't know, being a councillor or whatever, and then I can promise people that I'm going to build a road, I'm going to fix the electricity, I will, and no one asks me how. How are you going to do it? What resources are you going to use? Some have used the language that I think is inappropriate to say, I'm going to give you. And I give me, how? Are you going to use your money to give me, whatever you're going to say you're going to give? So some of these, when we see them play out on the campaign trail, they remind us of how far we still need to improve and what sort of challenges remain. But so far, I would say it's been calm, and perhaps that could continue.
All right. Let's now go to Dr. Kamunyu. Dr. Kamunyu, you were here not so long ago, and of course the same fears that Mr. Chivirige expresses about electoral violence were at the symposium where you presented a paper. But you've had an opportunity now to see what has gone on for almost a full month from the time the nominations occurred. Anything you would want to say about the situation so far?
First of all, in my view, looking at the past post-election reports, whether they are for observers, local and international, we have recorded high-level involvement of security forces in our democratic elections, and there are political analysts and commentators would then claim that it undermines our democratic citizenship. Yes, like my brother has articulated, there have been incidents of involvement with, more largely with opposition, diverting them. One way they could be saying, oh, you have crowds, you move with crowds, so you're going to distort busy town centers, and you will disrupt business in towns. You may attract hooligans to participate in unwanted activities, one could say. But largely, their involvement so far in the active campaigning, I don't know what they may plan otherwise, is minimal, and to me, it is on a good note, because then it deviates a little bit from what we saw in the past, where they were actively involved. But one could also argue that probably before elections there were attempts to undermine key active individuals who one could argue were arrested, or people were intimidated not to get involved in activities that could undermine peaceful, anticipated peaceful elections. One could argue that they were undermined, but I want to think that the role of security is also to make sure that we have a peaceful, well-guarded, and secured right of a citizen to vote. On whether that will continue to the counting and making sure that ballot papers are escorted wholesomely to their tally centers, and final results are announced, we will be here to see, or to hear about, or to witness.
All right.
So in my view, that's its core.
All right.
That the security is minimally involved, and I wish they could do that, and that for the first time we all applaud what citizens of Uganda have finally decided.
All right. Now, staying with you, let's shift our gears now and look at the state of our parliament. Like I introduced the discussion, nominations have begun today. A number of people are vying to go and represent us in that key institution, not only in terms of governance, but also in terms of building this country. I want to hear from you as somebody who follows closely what happens in this country, including parliament. What kind of parliament do you think this country deserves? And the reason I'm asking that, because eventually it is defined by the kind of people who get elected, and those are the people who are being nominated today and tomorrow.
When it comes to issues of parliament, I'm a bit radical, so I am unproportionate in a way that I think that our parliament was not designed creatively. We inherited some colonial outfit, which we are always trying so hard to fit ourselves in. Even when you see the way our chambers are designed, we are just a colonial outfit. And for a country like ours that was Balkanized, I keep saying that, would have been radically creative and create such a parliament that would be, first of all, very cheap to run, less costly, very representative, and also well devolved in a way that would deal with the post-independence questions, which of course fundamentally were pointing to our diversity that was adversarial at the same time. So I am a bit radical that first of all we were not very creative, and this is my sincere view, that we are just trying to fit in some kind of very expensive, in the first place. Over time it has soared. the point that you can't even track anything. You don't even know whether people aren't there for jobs or whether they aren't there for just filling spaces. And in light of that, I think over time, you can't easily track the role of an MP. Every time I'm on the road, I see ambulances and what. MPs are involved in things they're not supposed to do. And it reminds me the book of the common prayer. Is it common in Anglican? That you are doing things that you have left things that you're supposed to do, and you are doing things which you are not supposed to do. Because a parliamentarian from Greek practice, where democracy began, is a very serious person. It was called a house of Orwells. An Orwell. The house of clever people. The house of the smartest of society. First of all, to represent the people and their voices so they can be heard, to articulate the concerns of the people. That was the real concerns. And this is where I have a view very disturbing about these caucuses. For example, if my people are saying they need water and the caucus says, no, they don't need water, should I just believe what the caucus has agreed? I should go ahead to. And that's why then I point on the independence of these MPs. Because the whole thing is, two, they are supposed to be legislators. They should know how to read and analyze the law. And you don't have to be a lawyer, by the way. You simply have to be critical. Because this is a house of Orwells, the house of clever people. And also to hold government accountable. Are they? And whether you are in the ruling party or outside the ruling party, your role would be told, because your job is with the citizens and their concerns, not going there to party and then this whole thing, lack of creativity, the lost role of an MP, points to some kind of activities that represent total ideological underdevelopment of the people. Those electing the quality of a democratic citizen, we are voting our person, clan leader, or some kind of, people are voting, a church member. These points, all this, it's a maze of that points to total democratic underdevelopment. And so, to me, the parliament we deserve is one that dwells on the issues of citizens. And that we are debating, first of all, but can these people debate anyway, the issues that concern our society, and that these issues are very well locused in what we as a people want to be better, to better our lives. So in my view, the current nature, form, and population of Parliament is one I can say is work in progress. And I don't think we have even started on that.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Chibirige. Mr. Chibirige, let's hear your own thoughts on the state of our Parliament. We have heard from Dr. Kamunyu. What are your thoughts on this?
I'll build on what my brother, Dr. Kamunyu, has said. To say, you asked what kind of parliament do we need. It reminds me of an interstate study we did when we were in South Africa, Pretoria, in 2009, 2010, where we had this one question that was asked across more than 140 countries. And the question was, what kind of, for instance, if you are in Uganda, what kind of Uganda does the world need in order to develop, to advance worldwide ideas? What kind of Kenya, what kind of China does the world need? And it was very interesting. So to say what kind of parliament does Uganda need is a big question. And to answer it here, we are only going to try. But let me give it a shot in maybe 2-3 points. The first I think, building on what Dr. has said, we need a parliament that can lead we, the ones who vote them into office, on parliamentary affairs and issues. I mean to say a parliament where we can get leadership on what parliament does, represents, and so on and so forth. Because at least when you get there, you get to know what the job of that MP is. We, the ones who vote them into office, most times don't know. And one of the key things we've seen each time we go into these cycles of electing new members of parliament is the high turnover. Over 60% don't return. And they are being judged on grounds that they don't serve. So they were judged on not coming back to visit the constituency, not attending to issues in the constituency, like attending funerals or contributing to marriages or ceremonies or whatever, things of that nature, or not building roads, schools. The hospital is in disarray and the MP is to blame, and all those are not cardinal roles of this MP. So a poor MP is voted into office very expensively, by the way. Some mortgage everything they have in order to afford the campaign. And once they get into office, one MP in our surveys in Namibia told us that when they go back to their constituency, they feel they are a walking ATM. Whoever you meet needs you to give them something. And that's very difficult. But I also believe you and me, when we go back to our villages, we get the same sentiment. You know, whoever finds you says, okay, what have you brought for us?
Our son.
We think there should be a parliament that can help us with the electorate to learn what parliament really does. And it is very difficult for parliament to do that because they will have to self-reflect. My brother has talked about parliament being very big. It is one of the problems at parliament. And our surveys in 2016, our round 6 surveys, did show that 70% of ordinary Ugandans thought or supported the idea that parliament should be rescaled down.
Rescaled?
Yes, to save taxpayers' money. But parliament can't do that. They cannot they cannot pass that legislation to say, okay, we are going to reduce our numbers. Yesterday, they were voting, and they chose to maintain the status quo
of the special interest groups.
And not the constituency representatives. But for me, the role of this MP needs to be clearly understood so that we can hold that parliament in very high esteem and regard. I could read a few of our findings here from Uganda in particular that concern how ordinary Ugandans see this parliament in terms of trusting it, in terms of feeling how the parliamentarians respond to citizen requests and issues, how much they think they trust that parliament, how much they see that parliament as corrupt, and how much they contact that MPs. All these metrics I'm reading are going down compared to 2015, 10 years ago. So we've done, since 2015, we've done 5 surveys in Uganda, national surveys every year. And that shows all these metrics are going down. So a parliament that is less trusted, less contacted, that is increasingly being perceived to be corrupt. And 80% believe that our elected leaders, for instance, pursue their own interests rather than serving the interests of the people. And that is very, very difficult to swallow if you are an MP. And then you realize that the proportions who see parliament as corrupt is the same proportion that don't trust parliament. So they are caught up in this sort of conundrum that we elected you to go to become rich, to become influential, and not attend to our issues. Okay, what are our issues? Bad roads, no water, no electricity, hospitals and disarray, schools, funerals, weddings, and that's a mess. So can't this parliament calm down? I have seen on the website of our parliament sort of brief notes to say this is the role of the MP, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's positive, but how many go there? And this needs to come out more clearly for at least saving the skin of these MPs, because they don't get re-elected, many of them, because we, the ones who vote them into office, have misunderstood what we voted them to do.
All right. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're going to go for a break now, but one particular reality that we know that every election cycle, there is always that turnover. About 70% of the MPs do not come back. Do you think we're likely to have something like this going by what you've just stated, Mr. Chivirige, that many Ugandans no longer trust the institution of parliament? We will deal with those kind of issues when we return from this break. But keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. Spectrum will continue after this break. Well, we're glad that you're still with us on Spectrum Live on Radio 1 FM 90. We're looking at the state of our parliament as nominations for those who want to contest for the different seats take shape. Today, the Electoral Commission began nominating the candidates, and that exercise will culminate tomorrow, and then we will know exactly how many people are out there to contest for the different seats that are in Parliament. My guest this evening, Mr. Francis Chivirige, is a researcher with Afrobarometer Survey, and Dr. Deus Kamonyo Muhezi is a governance critic and lecturer at Makerere University. Dr. Kamonyo, you just had the submission of Mr. Chivirige that increasingly Ugandans are dissatisfied with how Parliament is performing, looking at its mandate and what has actually come out. But that also reminds me that every election cycle, we have at least about between 60 to 70% of a turnover, MPs that never return. Would one say that the voter clearly understands what they expect from these MPs, and therefore, every electoral cycle, they look out for who to punish by not re-electing them?
I am thinking that people actually understand what they want, but maybe they are not sound enough to track these wants or needs. Because if they were not, they wouldn't punish these people. But let's say, what do they want is where my problem is. Like we have said, many of them want them to attend funerals, to contribute big money on funerals, to attend their weddings, to make their agents richer. Because it's these agents who will actually campaign you and go to sell you to another candidate. And so back to what we both were talking about the other time, the quality of the democratic citizen. We have a lot to do there. So the people know what they want, but is what they want what can actually produce a very good leader or an MP. So what they want is of low quality. They want food, basically. Let me summarize it that way. They want to eat. They want to drink. They want sort of their small problems. That's why when you give them a little money, it's sort of a problem to go to the hospital. They cannot even track the fact that the reason you are in Parliament is for them actually to go to a better hospital nearby. And if you can give them 10,000, 20,000, or pick them in your car, they would vote you because they think you are. Okay. So the quality of a democratic citizen is where the problem is. And I think many MPs, including those in government, have worked hard to keep this democratic citizen unaware. I call them a democratic citizen because they're obligated to vote in democracy. But what is the quality of these people? Do they know exactly what it takes to build government, to provide for better roads, or to access to Medicare, or access to schooling? And we often debate these things, and I'm very sure a democratic citizen is not aware. For example, I come from an area where land is increasingly becoming a problem because of family sizes. There are small plots of land. They are overcultivated. The land is getting exhausted a bit. Incomes as a result are going down, and it's very clear. You really see that there is going to be a crisis. But do you think this is what concerns my people there? If an MP attempted to actually do that, they would not recognize it. they would still want this MP who is doing exactly what people need, lobbying for schools that they can increase school access to secondary education through seed schools, lobbying for hospitals come nearer the people, maybe pushing for roads to be worked on. They would not recognize this. They would still evaluate your performance on the basis of how close you were to them, how you contributed to, how you embraced them, how you... So it goes back to the quality of the democratic citizen. Unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe less fortunately, it's the role of the same politicians, government, and members of parliament existing to build that competence, to build vessels, and in this case we are in a multi-party dispensation, to build vessels that would rally people towards this level of education or quality of citizenship. Because to me, a political party is a vessel for politicization of society, and it must be underpinned by ideology. And so, and to empower people to know what your position is on issues that affect the people, such that then you can ably represent them. And so it's their responsibility when they're in parliament to actually, even if it's very difficult, and I wish we changed again and again, but concentrated on teaching our citizens that this is what we have to do as members of parliament. Whether you throw me out or not, the next MP is going to do the same and teach you, such that we can have a competent democratic citizen finally. But what they do usually is to also play in the gallery and aim at being as corrupt as they can be, so they can gather as much money as they can get to bribe these citizens and return to parliament. But at the end of the day, when you ask yourself, so what were you trying to do? You are actually trying to kill your own society for this, just for being called honorable or being called chief or being called. But in terms of the quality of the people you've left behind, you are close to the devil. You've really killed your own society. And to me, that's where the problem is, the quality of democratic citizen, and the fact that all those concerned, elites especially, is to descend on the people and teach them. It's a hard task. By the way, it's the hardest task. But to begin with also, to make sure that our political vessels, the political parties, that through which we rally society, also have ideological positions.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Chibidige, you've rightly pointed out that some of the MPs actually want to do things that they are not supposed to do. But when you speak to some of these MPs and you tell them, look, your role does not include, buying ambulances, working on hospitals and things like that, they will tell you the government is not doing anything. So we have been, pushed to get into this particular arena to do the things that the voter wants. And there's no one you're going to tell that by doing so, probably you are influencing the voter or outstretching your mandate.
That's a very interesting question, and the reality of our governance, especially at the local government level. The fact is that, in my opinion, the MPs are caught, between a rock and a hard place. They are voted into an office to play a role that is already designed the way it should work. And to an extent, there are certain sort of campaign strategies, even though they could be right. Like, we are all crying out for issues-based campaigning. Some of the people running in these elections will tell you that if you went out in the community and told the truth, you will not be elected. Yeah, you will not be elected. So if you say, look,
you must promise heaven and earth.
You must try, promise, fight others, and fighting means fighting, and you must promise what you can, but pretend to deliver and blame those where you haven't delivered, and things like that. But it is all because that's what we, the people, understand. I go back to what the doctor has said. We have no democracy school, by the way. if you didn't do social sciences at tertiary level, and maybe arts for that matter, then you are left to learn about some of these things we talk about under democracy as a model, from politicians, from you people in the media, or from promises that people are making in your community where you live. Vote me, I will do this. And somehow you learn, okay, our leader promised this, maybe that's what leaders do. You understand? So I'll give you one example, give our listeners an example. We've seen time and again our leaders coming to say, I am going to give you this, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to do this. So you see an area, we have a problem in Uganda. Democracy is expensive. We know it's expensive. Two, all of us want these goodies. We need the delivery of economic services, political services today. We need electricity today. We need water today. We need good roads today. All of us across the entire country, we need them this election. This is our time. And those who need salary increases need it now. And those who need the medicines need it now. But are we that rich? Can we all get these things today? So the question is, if down in my home districts in MPG, we all need electricity. So the question is, our leaders should be able to lead us to know how can we increase our local revenue collection, for instance, at the district level, so that we can lay a claim and say, look, last time our local GDP grew by this percentage, and can we therefore, out of that, our contribution be provided with this service? But everyone, including those agitating for new districts, carving out small, spaces to become independently governed spaces, hope that these service improvements will come from somewhere in the center, somewhere in heaven, and land and drop there, and they will all of a sudden have everything. And that is wrong, because it is straining and leading us to borrow and borrow and borrow, and also over expend. Because each time, for instance, if you look closed your eyes and looked at how government handles taxpayers' money, for me what crosses my mind is this government is very rich. So, you don't get the impression that they are poor, planning for a poor country and trying to develop a poor country. But from the way they spend on themselves, on parliament, on whatever they do and how they do it and what they promise and what they throw around, they are very rich. And if you have that narrative, then it is wrong. We need to be led to believe that everything that we want and aspire to is going to be generated from among us. Those are the leaders we want. And we know that our MPs are ex-official members to our local government councils.
They're supposed to attend.
They are supposed to attend, even don't want to regulate, but once in a while, to know what is it that we want or have set out to develop in our district. But even if they did, they know that they are not in control. That council is not in control. And even though at the village level you will participate at parish and local government level in your local government's development plan and suggest what you're going to do in a financial year, you have no guarantee that it will be funded fully. You may want 100% in order to build several infrastructure you have set out as a project, but you will be gazetted, you will be the disbursement that comes from the center could be only, let's say, 10%. And so what are you going to do? So we are always in this position of anticipation. And that has been designed in a way to engineer votes. So the person who can promise a road and deliver it during election gets elected. Because that person delivers. The person who promises a hospital, promises a school or something and delivers it because they have the pockets. Either they have gotten that from somewhere, from delaying these developments in time or acquiring them or lobbying for them during this tight competition period, that person carries the day. And if you are an MP trying to survive in your political career in that space, you have to align with those who can be able to deliver these goodies. And if you don't, then you get voted out. And to me, that's a conundrum. And when I say the parliament has to reevaluate, one of the things that they really have to do is to clean up their image in voters' eyes and help us see that grande, that august house that the doctor talked about at the beginning, that, who is this MP? Is a honorable. So what does it mean to really be a honorable? So they need to help us see them that way, but not to distrust them, to contact them less, to see them as doing their, following or pursuing their own interests rather than our interests. And could be that our interests and theirs are misaligned because of the situation and environment in which they find themselves. It is very difficult when you consult, for instance, your constituents and they say, these are our priorities. I don't want to say development priorities, because if they are development priorities, take them to your local government, go to the district.
All right.
But if they are legislative priorities, then how can this MP deliver them when at their back there is a political party that is wielding some influence? There is a caucus. That caucus could be from a political party, from a regional caucus, a religious caucus. They are also wielding influence. And then they are also worried about, we have this funny situation. MPs are in the House trying to debate. There are some other people in the committee already campaigning ahead for the next election. You see, he hasn't come. So and so died. The MP is not here. And in the end, when you sum up all these, plus the man mortgaged everything he has in order to go there, he's struggling to pay off the debts. But each time they announce how much he earns, people line up at his gate to say, okay, we know you got X amount. Can you give us some?
Right.
And to me, those need to be addressed.
All right. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703090090. Let's see who is with us this evening, and I want to begin with Ejoy Job, who writes in and says, in my opinion, monetization of politics by the regime has affected the quality of MPs we send to that house, and once they make it through, they first focus on the money they spend to reach there. In case of a bribe, it's hard to step aside. Then we have another comment from Okama, listening in from Mukono Municipalities. Thanks for the show. The parliament, as of the moment, my opinion is they are off business, as a lot of tax funds are going to be spent on expenses not known. Their expenditure sometimes confuses us. Parliament is spending a lot on itself. Then we have another comment here coming in from Richard, who writes in and says, how can we better Parliament if the good brains, like your guests in studio, are not offering themselves to run for office? That's a comment there. They're wondering why you gentlemen are not willing to do what? To contest, to stand, to offer yourselves to actually run for Parliament. Then he says, my view, this is the view from Moses, who says, my view is that there's a fusion between Parliament and the executive. A president should not be appointing a member of Parliament as a minister. When that happens, the MP should resign their seat. Then lastly, we have a comment coming in from Susan. What kind of reforms would you propose to make our Parliament more viable? Well, those are some of the comments that we have received from the listener. Let's try to respond to them, because time is also not on our side. And I want to begin with you, Dr. Deus Kamunyu, with your quick response to some of these comments that have come in from the listener.
It's very clear from the first comment, it's very clear that the cost of public management, including maintenance of these MPs, is so high. And money that would have gone to providing services to the people is diverted to managing the people, because it's true that they are increasingly getting hungry and hungry. So you have to manage them. And to manage them, you have to get involved in doing material things, which then would divert you from your ideological positions on development. And this will further dramatize society. We may not go back, because if we keep the cost of public management and public administration going up and up, we'll have no money to put in. And I think that's why in some way PDM is, and they have said it, PDM is one way of putting money close to the people. But it could be creativity that is undermining the structure of society in a way that also MPs are supposed to fight to structure local governments and make sure they have enough money to act locally and get services to the people. So yes, the cost of public spending and there be money for services is real, and the only way is to reduce the size of parliament and also to recast our original to persuade them to come to their original functions and behave as guides of society, even if they lost their jobs. At least they would say, we did our part, and it's a cascading. I lost my job, but I'm happy. I contributed. Why can't we move for ourselves? It's always a very tough question. First of all, we also have roles we are playing, which are also developing society. My brother here is constantly looking at data and guiding you on issues that, and also informing MPs on issues that, for example, citizens are thinking about. That's a very important role. So I'm a member of the academy, I'm a teacher, and I can also contribute to enlightenment of society. It's a huge role also, and it should not be undermined.
Some of the people in the house were actually taught by you.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, but maybe there are those who also were not that very aligned. So
maybe they forgot what you taught them.
And they are surviving. But it's also right. Airites must get involved on another side. We must get involved in the discussion. And we don't have to all be members of parliament. We can guide society from wherever we are. We can descend on the people and also. And maybe you are right, we can offer ourselves and not give out money, because we will never go to parliament at this. If you go to the people and you tell them they do what you're going to do, they will not vote you. Unless my brother is saying we go there and also lie, and then we become the same lot. Maybe the listener should reflect. We have roles to play, and the MPs also have roles to play. Reforms needed. That's my side. Or reduce. We must reduce them. And we must devolve some functions to regions either. And I saw this happen in Kenya. I think we are not reinventing the wheel. After some time, they dissolved a bit and created some, became more creative on how they want to manage their affairs and made debates more local and with limited expectations and less control, and reduce the size of parliament and make it. When I see Kenyans debate sometimes, especially in the upper house, I feel agitated. They seem to be moving, very serious citizens talking things. They may be ramblings there, but I see them growing, and I feel good. The other reforms needed are to do with this is personal, like they are doing the iPod. But in the iPod, I would wish that also we put a condition on parties that join that relationship should also ideologically become clear and aligned and commit to greater citizenship. This business of having clubs of eaters or people planning to eat next, I have eaten today, eat next, what? It is disturbing. It undermines some of us and makes us feel we are losing it.
All right. Mr. Chibi, in 1 minute, your closing remarks, but also as you respond to the issues raised by the listener.
Okay. In 1 minute. I think I will concur with Doctor. So because of time, I will maybe just expound on one aspect he's mentioned. We can sit, and I think we will sit forever to wait for Parliament to self-evaluate and see these reforms that relate to it, maybe downsizing, for instance, emoluments for MPs and the like, and issues concerning how they consult us, for instance, when they come back. The law is not clear. They say, go consult, but how? How many do you consult? So there are quite a number of aspects relating to how this Parliament functions in the eye of the common man that need to be reviewed. My suggestion would be that there should be a commission to review this Parliament.
All right.
The way it is structured, the way it functions, in the interest commission, like we've seen the commissions in education sector, for instance, and
Land,
others.
etc.
Yes.
All right. I'm afraid time is not on our side. We have to bring this discussion to an end. It has been a pleasure hosting you. I hope I'll have an opportunity next time to also have this kind of informed discussion. Dear listener, thank you very much for tuning in. Up next, we have the news in English with Miss Josephine Dagano. But stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90, because after that, we'll be doing great songs and great memories with Bibi Jr., who will be doing the Soul Train. Until then, stay tuned to Radio 1 FM 90, and we wish you a good night.